In today's video we are going to compare the regular Lenovo Yoga Slim 7 to the Yoga Slim 7 Pro. This one, the Pro, was recently released and I have been spending about a month with this guy as my main driver. The Lenovo Yoga Slim 7 I've used for more than half a year as my main driver. These two devices are very interesting to compare because they have some very interesting similarities as well as some big differences. The units I have here and the units I currently own of these machines are the Yoga Slim 7 with the AMD 4500U CPU, 16GB of RAM and a 512GB SSD. And I have the Lenovo Yoga Slim 7i Pro with the i5 1135G7, 16GB of RAM and a 512GB SSD. For the Yoga Slim 7 4500U, I got an open box version and then paid about 700 euros for it. Regularly, this guy would go at around 900 euros here in the Nordic region. The Slim 7 Pro is considerably more expensive and this unit I got for 1200 euros. That was not with an open box and no kind of sale price applied to it. So this is the very original price for it and something that I think is worth taking into consideration when comparing these two laptops as we're gonna do now. In this comparison, we will not be focusing on performance because both of these guys come in so different configurations. And I have personally used a bunch of different configurations of the Yoga Slim 7. Both the AMD 4700U as well as the 4500U. And it's also available with the 4800U together with the i version that is available with i5 or i7 CPU from Intel. That is the 1135G7 or the 1165G7. So far, the available configuration of the Yoga Slim 7 Pro is this guy, the Slim 7i Pro with an i5 CPU. This became available about a month ago in the Nordic region. There should also be a version with the i7 together with an MX450 GPU and also the versions that everyone's waiting for, which is the AMD versions, either with the 5600H 45W CPU or the 5900H, which will be the most powerful CPU available for this guy and a very nice device, I'm sure. However, the AMD versions are listed now with availability in Sweden around end of July, and I think that could be delayed even further, so I bought the i5 to just get my hands on one of these units to be able to test it out and compare it to the regular Yoga Slim 7. As you can see right here, these laptops look really similar at first glance. And that's for good reason, because they are pretty similar in many ways. They have a very similar chassis, similar logo designs, and similar keyboard and trackpad feels. However, as you can see here, they differ a bit in size, because even though they are both 14-inch laptops, the Yoga Slim 7 is a 16:9 aspect ratio. The Yoga Slim 7 Pro is a 16:10 aspect ratio. So that's why you can see the size difference in height and in length here. When it comes to the quality feel of the laptops, I think that they both have a very good quality feel, but the Yoga Slim 7 Pro is definitely one step ahead, and that's just when it comes to like the edges that are super refined here on the Slim 7 Pro, where the edges on the regular Yoga Slim 7 are not really that smooth. Like there's a little bit of sharpness to the edge here, and it's not bad by any means. It's just that this doesn't ooze quality really in the same way as the Pro model does. They both have the same kind of material and it is a little bit prone to picking up fingerprints, but it's a relatively matte material so you don't see the fingerprints sticking very bad, and they are easy to wipe off if you get some bad fingerprints on it. The weight of the Yoga Slim 7 is 1,354 grams, and the weight of the Slim 7 Pro is 1,403 grams. All the models I have used of this laptop come with the same Lenovo 65-watt charger, and this is a pretty good charger with a long cable. It is relatively small, and it doesn't have any extra USB port, which is something that could have been nice to have. However, I know that in the AMD version of the Yoga Slim 7 Pro, there should be a 95-watt USB-C charger included. The weight of this charger is approximately 300 grams, so you should add that to the total weight. However, there are plenty of lighter options if you want to cut weight as much as possible. When we keep looking around the outsides of the laptop, we quickly reach places where there are main differences between the two units. As you can see here, the Lenovo Yoga Slim 7 comes first with a USB-C port. This guy, in this AMD model, can be used either for charging or for data transfer. Then you have an HDMI port, and you have a USB-C port that has both charging capabilities, data transfer capabilities, as well as DisplayPort out. And then you have a 3.5mm headphone jack. On this model, which is the Slim 7i Pro, there are two Thunderbolt ports, and then there's just the power indicator and no other ports. I think this is a bit of a poor let out from the Slim 7 Pro model, because the more pro a laptop should be, I would say the more ports it should actually have. Moving over to the other side, we have a similar situation here. On the regular Slim 7, we have the power button, we have a power indicator, and we have two USB-A ports together with a micro SD card reader. Whereas on the Slim 7 Pro we have the power button, we have one USB-A port, and then we have the 3.5mm headphone jack. So also on this side, it is not better on the Pro model. And we knew this was the case from the beginning, but I still feel like this is a strange way of setting up the model naming, calling a model Pro when it has less of those Pro options in it. If we keep on looking at the outsides here, we can see that the Slim 7i Pro has a downward firing speaker that is visible right there. Whereas on the regular Slim 7, you don't have the downward firing speakers because the speakers are next to the keyboard on the inside. So speaking on the inside, let's get into it and see if these laptops can be opened with one hand. We start off with the regular Yoga Slim 7. Which is very easy to open with one hand. And then the Yoga Slim 7 Pro. It lifts up a little bit, but then if you shake it down slightly, it will open with one hand, but it's not an as smooth process as with the Yoga Slim 7. As you can see after we open the laptops up, we reach some more interesting differences. And the main one and the most obvious one is of course the difference between the screens. I mentioned this before, that this is a 16:10 screen and this is a 16:9 screen, and you can clearly see the difference in aspect ratio there. You can also see that this screen from the Slim 7 Pro is a bit brighter. It is also a glossy screen, which means that this screen needs to be brighter, because otherwise it would be a lot of reflections coming from this monitor. This is a matte screen in the regular Yoga Slim 7, a little less bright, and the Yoga Slim 7 has a Full HD 60Hz screen, when the Slim 7 Pro has a Quad HD 2.8K resolution 90Hz screen. This is really amazing to use for any kind of productivity, video editing, gaming, photo editing, but it also means that this is a power-hungry screen. It is both high resolution, it is glossy, which means that you really need to ramp up that brightness quite a lot, and it has that higher refresh rate of 90 Hz, which you can turn down to 60 Hz, but it is also really nice to run it at 90 Hz, so you kind of want to keep it around there. This means that even though the Yoga Slim 7 Pro has a relatively large battery, 61 watt-hour, this guy has a battery life of around 6-7 hours, when this guy, the AMD version of Yoga Slim 7, has a battery life of up to 12, sometimes 13 hours. So if you're in it for battery life, you really should go with the regular Yoga Slim 7 and especially the AMD version. The last but also pretty important difference between the looks around the screens here is that this guy has plastic bezels around the screen. That is the only place it has plastic in it. The rest is a full metal chassis. The Slim 7 Pro also has a full metal chassis, but the bezels are glass all the way out to the edges. In my opinion, this gives it quite a bit more of a premium feeling compared to the regular Yoga Slim 7. It feels more like a MacBook Air or MacBook Pro experience to use the Slim 7 Pro. Also, when it comes to the quality control things, they have a little bit of backlight bleed, both of them. But none of them have as much of it that you get disturbed by it at daily use. The next thing that is very similar between the two units are the keyboards. The Lenovo keyboards in these kind of units are good, not as excellent as the ThinkPad lineup, but they are still very good, have a decent amount of travel distance, and they don't flex a lot when you are typing. The palm rest areas are very similar, although because of the 16:10 aspect ratio, you can see that there is a bit larger space for the palms to rest at. Then you come to the trackpads. And they are similar in feel, but you have a bit of a bigger trackpad in the Yoga Slim 7 Pro, which is a really good thing. This trackpad for me is a very good balance of having the larger size that is allowed from having a bit of a bigger palm rest, but also not being too big so that you constantly keep on touching it when you are typing. So I really appreciate this keyboard and trackpad combo, and the regular Yoga Slim 7 has a good keyboard trackpad combo, although not as nice to use on a daily basis. We reach another difference here, which is in the speaker setup. As you could see before, the Yoga Slim 7 Pro has its speakers in the bottom, whereas the Yoga Slim 7 has them up here on top. This means that there's a bit more clarity in the speakers from the Yoga Slim 7. In terms of speaker quality, for me it is a clear win for the regular Yoga Slim 7, both when it comes to clarity and when it comes to the volume of the audio. None of these laptops come with a fingerprint reader, at least not in the models that I have. The power button can in some SKUs have a fingerprint reader, but all the models I have tried of these guys have been without fingerprint reader, although they do come with this pretty nice Windows Hello feature, where there is an IR sensor in the camera, and the laptop starts up immediately when you open it up, and then it logs you in really fast. So it is a very, very good experience when it comes to Windows Hello, even though there is no fingerprint reader available here. Here you can see and hear examples of the cameras and microphone setups of the two laptops. This is the quality of the webcam and the audio that is coming from the built-in microphone. I have had good comments on the audio, but I really don't like the washed out and really unsharp image. Here we have the camera and microphone, and as you can see, it is not that terrible. It is a little bit better than the regular Yoga Slim 7, but still this is one of Lenovo's really weak points. And I have had some people complaining about the quality of the microphone. One thing I think is pretty important is how silent the units are when you are using them lightly or when they are in idle. And this differs between these two units, although this is something that could be different from unit to unit. This model of Yoga Slim 7 that I have here, this specific unit, has quite a lot of coil whine. This guy, the Yoga Slim 7 Pro, is completely silent. Except coil whine when it comes to idle use, I think it's important to know about fan noise. And the Yoga Slim 7 Pro has been really excellent when it comes to not putting out fan noise when it's in idle or when you use it lightly. This guy, the regular Yoga Slim 7, does put out some fan noise even in some of the idle states. Right now, for example, it is not using much power at all. We have a few tabs open in Chrome, but that's it. And the fan is on, not very loud, not audible even, but when you lean in to listen to it, there's definitely fans going here, when in this guy it's a completely silent state. Let's check the temperature to see if there is a reason why the fans are running. In the hottest area here we have a temperature of around 33 degrees. And in the Slim 7 Pro we have a temperature in this hottest area of around 29 to 30 degrees. Please note that this will really vary between what configuration you have of each laptop, what power mode you're using them in, etc, etc. But if we run them both in intelligent cooling mode here, just to get a little bit of reference information, we get a CPU temperature on the Yoga Slim 7 of 54 degrees, while running this guy on the same kind of sort of idle use, we get a CPU temperature of 30 to 33 degrees. I didn't really notice this when I was using this guy exclusively, but after I started using the Slim 7 Pro, I really realized that this is a very, very silent unit. Much more silent than any of the other laptops I've been testing out the last few years. When it comes to the overall Windows experience, both these laptops are excellent. But it is a proper difference between using a Full HD screen with a 16:9 aspect ratio compared to a Quad HD 2.8K screen with a 16:10 aspect ratio. As you can see here, when browsing a news website, for example, I can see a lot more of the news and of the page when I'm on this a bit higher screen with a bit higher resolution as well. So for me, the experience of using this screen has been very, very positive, and I can really vouch for using a 16:10 screen. I think it's a perfect combination of being able to have a bit more space like you could see there, but also when you want to watch a video clip in full screen, you don't get very big borders up top or in the bottom, and it's actually very, very good experience this as well. Of course, when you want to watch a video clip on a 16:9 device, you have the perfect aspect ratio for watching videos. And this also goes for gaming. But I find that the experience of using 16:10 is actually pretty similar. Comparing it to the 3:2 aspect ratio that I have in my MateBook 14, this 16:10 is a lot more versatile, and I think it's really a good balance between productivity and entertainment. But when it comes to media consumption, this is not a clear win for the Yoga Slim 7 Pro, because this guy has such a good battery life. If you want to use it on the go for media consumption, I think it's a clear win for the regular Yoga Slim 7. You basically need to turn down the brightness a few notches if you want this guy to have a long-lasting battery life. And when you do that, you will have a little bit less pleasant experiences when it comes to consuming media. One of the things that is a very big difference and that I think you should really take into consideration is upgradability. The Yoga Slim 7 Pro is not very upgradable at all. You can change the SSD, but there is only one SSD in this machine. You can also upgrade the Wi-Fi card in this guy. The regular Yoga Slim 7 has a second slot for an SSD, so you can upgrade the storage here to become much more than what you can do in the Yoga Slim 7 Pro. I would really recommend putting a second SSD in this guy because it gives you a versatility of installing many games, loading it up with a lot of music, a lot of movies, and in combination with the good battery life that you have here, that is really a good portable setup with tons of storage and also the battery life to make you enjoy all the things you have stored on the laptop. RAM is not upgradable in any of them, so if you want 16 GB of RAM, you're gonna have to get it with 16 GB of RAM when you purchase it. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, we are not gonna run performance comparison here because they are really different, AMD version, Intel version, 4500U, i5, and there are so many configurations of these machines, so I think it's a little bit unfair to compare them head to head in performance. But if you want to see the performance of these units, I will link to the review videos of each one of them in the description below, and then you can check out the performance of these units in these configurations. I think these are both excellent laptops, and choosing a winner here is really not gonna be easy, but I'm gonna give it my best shot. So let's conclude this video. Which one of these guys would I pick if and when I have the choice? I have a few different tests to find that out. First of all, I have the test, which one do I pick in the morning when they are both available side by side and I get to choose one of them, and there is nothing else except that I'm gonna use it in my daily work life. For me, these past weeks when I've tried them out, this is definitely a win for the Slim 7 Pro. The combination of the completely silent operation and the better display here has really been a big win for me in my daily productivity use. When I plug into my office setup, I can really appreciate using the Slim 7, but when I go to cafes to work and only use the screen in the laptop, the Slim 7 Pro is definitely the winner here. And I think that is one important thing to stake out. If you are working a lot on the laptop screen, I think that the 2.8K screen with 90Hz refresh rate is a very good option, especially if you're able to plug into power. So if that is one of your use cases, plugged into power and working on your laptop screen, Slim 7 Pro is an excellent laptop to get. If you are working a lot on the go and, for example, travel and you are not where you can plug into power. If you are traveling or working a lot on the go where you cannot plug into power, this is a very different story because the battery life of this Full HD AMD version of the Yoga Slim 7 is really good. One of the best battery lives I've ever seen in a laptop. So if this is your main use case, it's a clear win for the Yoga Slim 7. And last but not least, I think it's important to consider the price. Here we have a unit that I paid around 700 euros for. This was with an open box, but still that is an amazing price for what you get in this unit. We have the Yoga Slim 7 Pro with an i5 CPU, and this I paid 1200 euros for. The value for money here is not as good in my opinion. As it is, the laptop is much better, but when you take the price into consideration, I would still say that the regular Yoga Slim 7 comes out on top. I just now also saw that the i7 version of Yoga Slim 7 is available for sale at around 800 euros in Sweden. And that has been way more expensive most of the time before. So maybe it's gonna be the case that there are some sale prices coming up on the Yoga Slim 7, especially if there are new generations of the AMD CPUs dropping soon. So either wait for it to drop with a new AMD CPU, or get yourself one of those sale units when they are coming out now during spring. If you want to get the AMD version of Yoga Slim 7 Pro, I think unfortunately you are gonna have to wait quite a while before that becomes widely available. I'm W2Best, I make in-depth gear reviews and tutorials, and I will see you in the next video. Have a nice day, bye bye!